Welcome to Nature Academy. This is Dr. Sheikh Ahmed. So, in this lecture, we are going to discuss the postulates of quantum mechanics. So, we have 5 postulates. In this video, we focus on the first postulate that describes the state of the system. So, let us start with the first postulate. According to classical mechanics, the state of a particle at any time can be specified by its position and momentum as a point in two-dimensional space. For example, I can draw a x-axis and y-axis. So momentum is along y-axis and x is a variable along x-axis. Then I can represent a point in this two-dimensional position momentum space. So this will be the position of a particle, and from this point you can also calculate the momentum of the particle. Okay, so generally classical mechanics applies to macroscopical particles. When we talk about nanoparticles and nano-sized particles, classical mechanics failed to explain the dynamics of the nano-sized particle. Then we use quantum mechanics. So what is the first postulate according to the quantum mechanics? So the formalism of quantum mechanics is dependent on 5 postulates. So these postulates cannot be derived. They obtained from the experiment. So these are the experimental observations. So here, so the first postulate of quantum mechanics is the state of the particle is represented by a vector psi of t in the Hilbert space. So this is the first postulate of quantum mechanics. It talks about the state and corresponding wave function of the system. Let's move on to the second postulate. The second postulate in classical mechanics is every dynamic variable or observable is a function of position and momentum. What do you mean by observable here? Observable is nothing but any measurable physical quantity. Measurable physical quantity, we can call it as measurable physical quantity, we can call it as an observable. For example, position, momentum, angular momentum, kinetic energy, torque, all these things, these are measurable physical quantities. So every observable is a function of position and momentum. For example, we can calculate the velocity. How will you calculate the velocity? This is like dx by dt. We can calculate kinetic energy. So kinetic energy can be represented by 2 p square by 2m. So this is my kinetic energy. And you can also calculate the angular momentum L as a function of linear momentum P. So any observable, measurable physical quantity is a function of position and momentum according to classical mechanics. Now let's move on to the quantum mechanical point of view. For every observable quantity, for every observable or dynamic variable, there corresponds to a linear Hermitian operator. The second postulate in quantum mechanics talks about the operator mechanism. That means every observable quantity. For example, if I take the position, in classical mechanics just is like x, but in quantum mechanics this position is replaced with an operator, that is a position operator. Similarly, momentum can be transferred to a momentum operator, that is ih bar minus ih bar dou by dou x, like this. Or you can also write this is minus ih bar, the operator, del operator. So for every observable, there corresponds to one operator in quantum mechanics. Third postulate, if the particle is in a state given by the position and momentum, the measurement of the variable will yield a value A, which is a function of x and p only. So now I want to focus on the quantum mechanical point of view, because this third point is very important. The measurement of an observable A, please remember that observable means any physical quantity, measurable quantity. It may be a position, momentum, anything. The measurement of A may be represented formally by the action of the operator on psi of t on a wave function. For example, see here, when you operate the operator A bar on state vector, then we will get another we'll get an eigenvalue an and a state vector psi of t. So the only possible result of such measurement is one of the eigenvalues of the operator. The fourth postulate discusses about the probabilistic outcome of the measurement. In classical mechanics, if you do some measurement on the state will remain unaffected. For example, if a car is moving and an observer, he is at a distance, let us call the distance is 2 kilometers, and this observer is trying to measure the velocity of this car. So velocities are also an observable. Right? Velocity is also dynamical variable which depends upon the position x dot. Okay. So when the person try to measure something on this car, that may be momentum or velocity, the state of the car, the state of the system will not change. The state of the system will not change. This is classical mechanics. But in quantum mechanics, the state of system will change from psi to psi n as a result of the measurement. That means this is the state vector, the state of the system, which is represented by wave function. If we do some measurement on the state, then the state will changes to another form. Let me call this as psi n of t. So when you measure something on psi of t, the state will change and you will get the result. And that result is nothing but the eigenvalue of the system. And the last one, this is the fifth postulate. The fifth postulate states about the evolution of the system. The state variables change with the time according to Hamilton's equation, whereas in quantum mechanics, the time evolution of the system is governed by Schrodinger's equation. The state vector psi of t obeys the Schrodinger equation, that is IH bar dou by dou t of psi of t equals to operator H, that is Hamiltonian, into psi of t. So this is Schrodinger's time dependent equation. So we have 5 postulates. The first postulate of the quantum mechanics deals with the wave function. So wave function is used to describe the state of the system. The second postulate deals with the operator. For every measurable quantity, there corresponds one operator. And the third point deals with the measurement of the system and the resulting eigenvalues. The fourth one is probabilistic outcome. So if you do some measurement on the system, what will you get? So it deals with the probability. And the fifth one is the time evolution of a system. If you know the state of the system for this time, for example, if when time t is equals to 0, you can also calculate the system at time not equals to 0. That means psi of xt you can measure if you know psi of x comma 0. Okay, in this lecture we are going to focus on the first postulate that describes the state of the system, and the state of system is described with the help of a wave function. So here I am talking about Max Born interpretation. So first of all, I want to focus on what is a wave function and what are the properties of the wave function. The first one is a wave function describes a quantum state of an isolated system of one or more particles. There is one wave function containing all the information about the entire system. There is one wave function containing all the information about the entire system, not a separate wave function for each particle in the system. For example, let us talk about two electrons. This is one electron and this is another electron. So electron 1 and electron 2, I can call this is Cooper pair. If these electrons are moving inside a superconductor, now let us take an example of Cooper pairs. So here we have two electrons. These two electrons will have only one wave function. That means we can discuss all the properties of these Cooper pairs. We can discuss all the properties of these electrons with the help of one wave function. There is no need of two separate wave functions. We can take another electron psi e3 and another electron e4. So here we have 4 particles. All these 4 particles, the dynamics and all the information about the system, all the information about the 4 particles can be explained with the help of one wave function. That wave function is dependent on the coordinates and the time. The wave function has no direct physical meaning. The positive and negative regions of the wave function correspond to same probability distribution. Here I am trying to draw the wave function of a particle in a box. The wave function will have this type of behavior. So this is the positive region and this is the negative region. The positive and negative regions of the wave function correspond to same probability distribution. For example, if you plot, so this is my wave function, I will represent with psi of x. If you ask me to plot the probability, then the probability function will be like this. So what is the probability function? The probability is generally represented with psi of x into psi star x, or I can write psi square. That means the positive and negative regions of the wave function will have equal probability. The positive region has half probability and the negative region also have half probability. The wave function psi of rt and e power I alpha psi of rt represent the same state. Look at the wave function, one is psi of rt, other one is psi of rt multiplied with some phasor, some phase factor. So they represent same state. So a wave function is said to be normalized if they satisfy the condition. This one, n square integration psi star psi dx is equals to 1. From this you can calculate the normalization constant n is equals to 1 by square root of integral psi star psi dx. So this is the condition. This is the expression for a normalizing constant n. So there are some properties of the wave function, that is orthogonal wave functions. If a wave function satisfying this relation are known as orthogonal relations, that is integration of psi star m into psi star n d tau is equals to 0. Here d tau is the volume, that is a three-dimensional volume. You can write dx, dy, dz also. So when the integral psi star m psi n is equal to 0, such type of wave functions are called orthonormal functions. The wave function psi m and psi n are orthogonal, and the orthonormal condition tells you that from integrating psi star m into psi star n dx is equals to 1. If you get 1, that is normalized condition. If you get 0, they are orthogonal. So the first one is normalized condition and the second one is orthogonal condition. When two functions psi m and psi n are orthogonal, you will get the integration value 0, and when psi m and psi n are normalized, then you get 1. The wave functions obeying these two properties are known as orthonormal wave functions. What are acceptable wave functions? Wave functions satisfying the following properties are known as acceptable wave functions. What are the conditions here? The wave function psi and its first derivative must be finite, they must be single valued, continuous and square integrable. So what do you mean by square integrable? For example, if you want to call the wave function psi is a square integrable function, then psi star psi d tau must be less than or equals to 1. That means this function must converge. Then only I can call the wave function psi is a square integrable function. So this is the condition for square integrability. So we use this condition to verify whether the given function is square integrable or not. So let us have a look on some functions, whether they are acceptable or not. Look at this wave function psi of x, which is plotted against x. Is this function is acceptable or not? So let us check one by one. We have four properties. One is finite condition, single valued, continuous, square integrable. For example, if I select x value, let me call this as x0. When x is at x0, the wave function psi of x is having 1, 2 and 3. So it is having 3 values. The wave function is having 3 values at x is equals to x naught. So one of the condition is violated. So this wave function psi of x is not satisfying. That means this is not an acceptable wave function. We don't no need to look for other conditions, finite, continuous, square integrable. Out of the 4, one property is missing. That means the given wave function is not a valid wave function. Look at the second one. So here psi of x is plotted against x. So is this a acceptable wave function? So let me take a point here, and this is x naught. When x is equals to x naught, what is the value of wave function at that place? This is my x naught value. So what is the value of wave function at this x naught? So the value is infinite. The wave function has infinite value. So the first condition, the wave function and derivative must be finite is violated. So this is not an acceptable wave function. Next, third diagram, look at the wave function psi of x as a function of x. So this is the plot. It is starting like this and it has some discontinuity here, and again it is going like that. So this is a discontinuity. The given wave function is a discontinuous wave function. So you can see a discontinuity at this place. So that means this is also not an acceptable wave function. So the last one, so psi of x as a function of x. Is this wave function acceptable or not? So how will you check? This wave function has a finite value and it is single valued. Then we have to look for square integrable, right? So square integral means you have to integrate you have to integrate the wave function psi. So integral minus infinity to plus infinity psi star psi must be less than 1. I will give one hint how to identify whether the given function is acceptable or not. Let us select a point here. Assume that this is x naught. When x is equals to x naught, I have selected a point. Let me call this point A. So A is intersection of two curves. This curve, curve 1 and curve 2. This curve has a slope and this curve also has a slope. So first curve has, we have to look for positive slope or negative slope. So first curve is having a negative slope. Slope means what, students? Dou psi of x divided by dou x. This is slope. The derivative of the y variable with respect to x variable is slope. So dou psi of dou x is having negative slope in the region 1, for example, that is negative slope. And the second curve, that is 2, the derivative dou psi of dou x is having positive slope. That means the derivative has a discontinuous value. If you plot derivative dou psi x by dou x, you will get a graph like this. You will get the derivative of the wave function, you will get a discontinuity like this. So what is the condition here? Psi must be finite, psi must be single valued, psi may be continuous, but the derivative here dou psi by dou x is discontinuous. So I can say that the given wave function, this one is also not a valid wave function. Let us have a look on GATE 2001 question. So which one of the following represents acceptable wave function of a particle in the range minus infinity to plus infinity? This is the range. So we have to find out which one is an acceptable wave function. What are the options here? One is tan x, other one is cos x, other one is exponential minus d by x square, where d is negative, that means it is e power 1 by x square, other one is x e power minus fx square. So these are the four options. So when you plot the tan x value, this is the behavior of tan x graph. What happens to the tan x when x is equals to pi by 2? Tan x is nothing but sin x, sin by cos. So sin pi by 2 divided by cos pi by 2. Sin pi by 2 is 1, cos pi by 2 is 0, so the value is infinite. That means when x is equals to pi by 2, the wave function phi of x, the given wave function phi of x is becoming infinite. We are getting an infinite value for the tan. Pi by 2, 3 pi by 2, when x is equals to 3 pi by 2, when x is equals to 5 pi by 2. The same way the negative side also, minus pi by 2. You are getting an infinite value for tan x. So that means the tan x is not a valid wave function. Cos x, let's go to the second option, cos x. So this is the behavior of cos x, this is the plot for cos x. Cos x is finite. How can you say the finite value? If x is equals to 0, what is the value of cos 0? 1. If x is equals to pi by 2, what is the value of cos pi by 2? 0, right? And it is continuous also. Cos is continuous. You can see from the graph. So this wave function is a continuous wave function. It's a single valued. For every x we are getting one different value. So this is single valued. Given cost function is single valued and it is continuous. So let's look for the fourth property that is very important, square integrable property. So what is the square integral condition here? Minus infinity to plus infinity psi star psi dx here, that is b square cos square x dx must be less than 1. So if the condition is satisfied, then only I can say given cos x is acceptable wave function. Try to integrate here. So I will take b square outside, minus infinity to plus infinity cos square x can be written as 1 plus cos 2x divided by 2. I will expand this integration, that is b square minus infinity to infinity dx by 2. This is the first term. Another term is b square integral minus infinity to infinity plus to infinity cos 2x divided by 2 dx. So what is the value of dx? Integration of dx is x, and when you substitute x value you will get infinite here. From the first term itself you are getting infinite. So what is the condition for square integrability? You should get a finite value which is less than 1. The given function must be convergent. That means psi star psi, integral psi star psi must be less than 1. But what you are getting here? You are getting infinite. That means the given cos x function is not, this is not a square integrable function. It's not a square integrable function when the limits are from minus infinity to plus infinity. So this is not an acceptable wave function. It is because the cos x is violating the square integrable property when we integrate it from minus infinity to plus infinity. Of course, the cos x may be square integrable if we change the limits. So we'll look at that one in the later section. Look at the third one. First of all, you look at the graph drawn between x on the x-axis and the phi of x. So the wave function is phi of x here. So when you plot this function phi of x, which is equals to e power minus d by x squared. Since given d is less than 0, that means d is negative. For the simplicity, I have taken minus 1. So here minus into minus is becoming positive. So I got e power 1 by x squared. So this is my given wave function phi of x. So now I want to check whether the given function is acceptable wave function or not. What happens when x is equals to minus infinity? What will you get? You get 1 by 0 here. So 1 by infinity, that is e power 0, you are getting 1. What happens when x is equals to plus infinity? Then again you will get phi of x, which is equals to e power 1 by infinity. Then you get e power 0, you are getting 1. So at x value plus or minus infinity, you are getting the phi of x is finite value. But what happens when x is equals to 0? Okay, let us look at the value of phi of x when x is equals to 0. What happens to the wave function phi of x? So this is given by e power exponential minus d by x square. When x is equals to 0 and d is negative, so we'll get positive here. Positive value, let us say I have taken d is equals to minus 1, this is equals to 0. So you got e power infinity. So e power infinity is infinite. That means when x is equals to 0, the wave function has infinite value. So that is infinite. So when x is equals to 0, we are getting infinite wave function. That's why I can say the option C is not a correct answer. Let us move on to the fourth option. So this is the wave function plotted against x, and this is my phi of x. You can see the function. This is single valued function for every x value. What is the wave function here? Phi of x, which is equals to e into x e power minus fx squared. This is the function. For each x value, let us say x is equals to 0. What will you get? Phi of 0 is 0. X is equals to 1. You can calculate phi of 1 also. That is e into e power minus ef. So since e and f are constant values, so you will get a constant value. For each and every x values, we are getting corresponding phi values. So I can say that the given wave function is single value. Since we have e power x, so this is continuous also, and this is finite also. So now we have to check whether the given wave function is square integrable or not. So what is the condition for square integrable? Minus infinity to plus infinity psi star psi, if it is a one dimensional dx, you should get less than 1. So apply the substitute the value of psi star here, you will get e square outside and minus integral to plus integral x square e power minus 2f x square dx. When you substitute all these values, you will get e square pi power 1 by 2 2 into 2f 3 by 2, so which is a less than 1 value, which is a finite value. So here I have used the formula, I am writing the formula here, that is integral minus infinity to plus infinity x square into e power minus ax square dx is equals to root pi divided by 2a whole power 3 by 2. So when you use the formula here, so you will get this value, which is square integrable. So option D is the correct answer. Next, there is another question. Which among the following functions represent physically acceptable wave function? So first one is f of x is equals to 3 sin pi x, g of x is equals to 4 minus mod x, h square of x is equals to 5x, or I can write here h of x is equals to plus or minus root 5x, and the last one is e of x is equals to x square. So look at the wave function psi of f. This is the plot of 3 sin pi x, and this is g of x is equals to 4 minus mod x, and h square is equals to 5x, or h of x is equals to plus or minus root 5x. The last one is e of x is equals to x square. So these are the plots here. From this also you can easily identify which is acceptable wave function or which is not. So let's start with this one, e of x, this option D. So when x is equals to 2, the wave function has some value, and when x is equals to minus 2, the wave function has some value. But when x is equals to 2.5, when x is greater than 2.5, what is the value of the function e of x? E of x is approaching infinite value. In the same way, on the left side, when x is less than 2.5, minus 2.5, what is the value of psi of x? It is approaching infinite value. That means the given wave function is infinite wave function. The given function is infinite function. That means this is not a valid wave function. So we have four properties. First one is wave function must be finite and its derivative also. Wave function must be single valued. The derivative also single valued. Continuous. This is the third option. And the fourth one is very important, square integrable condition. So every function must satisfy these four conditions, then only that function can be known as acceptable wave function. The fourth one is violating this one. This is not a finite function. Next, look at the third one. H square of x is equals to 5x, or h of x is equals to plus or minus root 5x. When x is equals to, for example, let us say x is equals to 1, then what is the value of h of 1? We are getting two values. One is root 5, another one is minus root 5. That means for each x value, we are getting two values. The single valued condition is violating here. So we are getting two values. Okay, for each x value, we are getting two values of h of x. So single valued condition is violating in this one. So this is not a acceptable wave function since it is violating single valued condition. The given wave function is not a single valued one. Next, let us look at the B, option B. G of x is equals to 4 minus mod x. So this is the same thing, just like option C. When x is equals to 1, what is g of x value? G of 1 will be 4 minus mod 1. That means you can take positive value. If you take positive value, you will get 3. So what happens when x is less than 0? What is the value of g of x? When x is less than 0, when x is negative, g of x become 4 plus x, and when x is positive, the g of x value is becoming 4 minus x. Okay, so this is the condition here. Now find the derivative dy by dx, the derivative of the wave function. Let us try to find the derivative of the wave function. So g of x is equals to 4 minus x when x is greater than 0, and it is 4 plus x when x is less than 0. Now find the derivative of this wave function. If you want, you can also write psi of x instead of g of x. You can also write psi of x. So the derivative of the wave function is 0 minus 1, which is when x greater than 0, and it is 0 plus 1 when x less than 0. If you plot the graph between x and the derivative, the first derivative of the wave function g of x, when x greater than 0, you are getting negative value. That means here, when x less than 0, you are getting positive value here. That means you are getting a discontinuity in the first derivative of the wave function. So you are getting a discontinuity in the first derivative of the wave function. So that means this function is not a continuous. This is a discontinuous function. The given function is a discontinuous function. So this is also not a valid acceptable wave function. So out of the 4, 3 are not valid acceptable functions, and this one is valid acceptable function. So look at the sine function here. So this is continuous and single valued, finite valued. You have to check for the square integrability condition. Let us try to check whether the function is square integral or not. The square integral condition is minus infinity to plus infinity psi star psi dx must be less than 1. So minus infinity to plus infinity psi star psi means it become 9, and sine square pi x dx. Okay, so take 9 outside. Integral minus infinity to plus infinity sine square means I can write it as 1 minus cos 2 pi x by 2 into dx. So separate the terms here. 9 into minus integral plus integral dx by 2, and minus 9 by 2 into integral minus infinity to plus infinity cos 2 pi x dx. So look at the first function. When you find the integration of dx, you will get x, and substitute the lower and upper limit, you will get infinite only. So whatever with the second value, you are getting the infinite. That means the given wave function is not square integrable if the limits are minus infinity to plus infinity. So this is not a square integrable if the limits are given minus infinity to plus infinity. This is not a wave function. This is not a wave function. This is not a wave function. If the limits are minus infinity plus infinity, the option A is also not a valid wave function. For any other limits, for example, 0 to L, 0 to pi by 2, or 0 to 2 pi, for limited space, the limited region, the given wave function is a valid wave function. We can find this type of wave function in when a particle is in a box. When a particle is moving inside a box, we will get the wave function of the form psi n of x is equals to root 2 by L into sine n pi x by L. Okay. So here is another question which appeared in GATE 2005. A system is normalized. A system is in normalized state. Psi is equals to this one, with alpha 1 and alpha 2 representing two different eigenstates of the system. Requires that constant C1 and C2 must satisfy the condition. So that means we can call the wave function psi is an acceptable wave function, when C1 and C2 satisfy the condition. You have to select the proper condition, correct one. 1, 2, 3, 4 conditions are given. So which one is the correct answer? So let us start here. Psi is given that C1 alpha 1 and C2 alpha 2 vector. These alpha 1 alpha 2 are two state vectors. Let us write psi star also. If we write psi star, what will you get? This is my psi star. You will get another vector. This is ket vector and this is bra vector. what you will get here, alpha 1 and c1 prime, c1 star, and here you get alpha 2 and c2 star. I hope you know the notation, right? When you do the complex conjugate of a ket vector, you will get a bra vector here. The same thing applies here. Since psi is normalized, the wave function psi is 1. The wave function psi is 1. Or you can write the probability psi star psi. If it is two-dimensional, which is three-dimensional, you can write dou tau. If it is one-dimensional, you can write dx is equals to 1. So this is another notation. You can write the integration format, or you can write bracket notation also. Now I am using this notation. So try to write the ket vector here. On the left side we have alpha 1 c1 star plus alpha 2 c2 star, and then write down the ket vector alpha here, and that is c1 alpha 1 plus c2 alpha 2. So do the multiplication here. So what will you get? Alpha 1 are normalized, where alpha 1 and alpha 2 are orthogonal to each other. Alpha 1 and alpha 2, the ket vectors are orthogonal to each other, orthonormal to each other. What is the condition for orthonormal? If you have alpha I and alpha j, that is equals to delta ij. If I is equals to j, we will get 1. If I not equals to j, we will get 0. This is the orthonormal condition, right? So we can use the same condition here. So what will you get here? Alpha 1 and alpha 1, this is 1 and this is modulus c1 square. Similarly, you can get mod c2 square, here alpha 2 and alpha 2. The remaining terms c1 c2 star into 0, because alpha 1 and alpha 2 are orthonormal, and c2 and c1 star into 0 you will get. So finally what will you get? This is equals to 1 and this is equals to 1. So you will get c1 square modulus of c1 square plus modulus of c2 square. That means the given wave function is normalized when their coefficients follow the condition. They satisfy the condition mod c1 square plus mod c2 square. They must be equals to 1. Right? So option D is the correct option. Okay, now we are going to discuss probability density. The probability density is nothing but psi into psi star. You know that the given wave function psi may be a complex number and it has no physical meaning, but psi into psi star has a physical meaning. So I can represent rho is equals to psi into psi star, which is nothing but modulus of psi of r comma t whole square. That is known as position probability density. If you want, you can also write psi of p comma t with modulus and a square. Then I can call it as momentum probability density. So mod of psi square d cube r is the probability of finding the particle at a time t in a volume element d cube r. The total probability of finding the particle is equals to 1. We know that. So the total probability can be represented like this, or with an integration which is equals to 1. Wave functions satisfying this condition are known as normalized wave functions. What is the dimension of the wave function? The wave function psi of r has the dimension of 1 over L power n by 2, where n is degrees of freedom. For example, the wave function psi of x, which is a one-dimensional thing, will have the dimension 1 by L power n is equals to 1. Since degrees of freedom means the direct, I can say here along x-axis it has only 1 degree of freedom. So this is the dimension of wave function along the x-axis. If we have 2 degrees of freedom, that means wave function depends upon x comma y, then this will be like L power 2 by 2. If we have 3 degrees of freedom, that means 3-dimensional thing. The wave function in 3 dimension can be represented by psi of x, y, z, comma t. So this will have L power 3 by 2 n degrees of freedom. Then what about the probability? The probability density has the dimension of 1 by L power n. If psi of r is having 1 by L power n by 2, then psi of r mod square will have 1 by L power n by 2 power 2. So you will get L power 1 over L power n. So for example, for three-dimensional system, the probability density has the dimension as L power 3. So there is a question which appeared in Central University exams. I want to share that question here. The wave function of a particle moving in three-dimensional space has the dimension of. So here are the options. The wave function of a particle moving in three-dimensional space has the dimension of L power 3 by 2, L power minus 3 by 2, L power minus 1 or L. So he is asking about the wave function, right? Wave function in three-dimensional is given by 1 over L power n by 2. This is the general formula. And since the degrees of freedom is 3 here, it is L power 3 by 2, or you can write L power minus 3 by 2. So the option B is the correct option. Option B is L power minus 3 by 2 is correct option. Next we'll move to the superposition principle. The state of a system does not have to be represented by a single wave function. It can be represented by two or more wave functions. That means psi can be represented as linear combination of other wave functions. The state of a system need not to be represented by a single wave function. We can use many wave functions. Okay. For example, here I'll give you an example. Consider a system whose state is given in terms of orthonormal set of three vectors. So this is the state of the system, which is a linear combination of other three states, psi 1, psi 2, psi 3. Okay, so that means the point here is when the wave function has a linear combination of other wave functions, then the probability of the particle being in the state psi can be represented as, that is, the probability of the particle being in the state psi can be represented as probability of the particle being in the state phi 1 plus the probability of the particle being in state phi 2 and the probability of the particle being in the psi 3. So that is the superposition principle. So see here, this is the expression for the superposition principle. It states that the state of system can be represented by many wave functions, and the probability of finding the particle in that state is equals to sum of all the probabilities, rho 1 plus rho 2 plus rho 3 and so on. So that is superposition principle. Let us try to solve one problem here, so which appeared in GATE 2016, and this problem depends on the superposition principle. Consider a system whose state is given in terms of an orthonormal set of three vectors. What is meant by orthonormal set of vectors? I'll write the condition here. Phi I and phi j can be written as delta ij. If I is equals to j, then delta ij is equals to 1, or otherwise if I not equals to j, delta ij will be 0. So this is the condition, orthonormal condition, right? So psi 1, psi 2 will be 0, psi 2, psi 3 will be 0. Calculate the probability of finding the system in psi 2. The state of system is given by the linear combination of three states like this. So what is the probability of the system being in state psi 2? So how will you calculate this one? The probability of finding the particle in state psi 2 is given by psi 2 bra vector psi 2 into ket vector psi whole square divided by the normalization condition, that is psi into the bra vector psi into ket vector psi. So you can also write integration also. So this is the formula for finding the probability of the system in psi 2. When you do the inner product here, psi 2 with psi, you will get simply 2 square divided by, and check for the normalization condition. So psi the normalization condition will give you here psi 1 plus psi 2 with 2 plus and psi 3 with 3 and again you have to write psi 1 here plus 2 psi 2 here and 3 psi 3. So check for the normalization constant. Psi 1 into psi 1 is 1 and psi 2 into 2, so that is 2 into 2 4 you will get here, and psi 3 3 into 3 you will get 9. So what is the normalization constant here? 14 is the normalization constant. Cat psi 1 into bra psi 2 is 0 since they are orthonormal. So here you will get 14. So 4 by 14, that is 2 by 7. So the probability of the particle finding in the state psi 2 is 2 by 7. Similarly, I can calculate the probability of finding the particle in psi 1 and probability of the particle in psi 3. Let us try out that one also. The probability of particle finding in psi 2 is 2 by 7. Similarly, the probability of particle being in state 1 will be, you have to write the wave function psi 1 like this, and this is the modulus square divided by the normalization constant, that is 14 in this case. So what will you get here when you multiply with psi 1? This is simply 1. So 1 by 14 you get here, and the same way you can also write the probability of the system finding in psi 3, that is modulus psi 3 psi whole square by, you can write psi, that is normalization condition. So here you get 3 square by 14, it is 9 by 14. Okay, so this is 4 by 14 and this is 1 by 14, this is 1. So according to superposition principle, the total probability will be rho 1 plus rho 2 plus rho 3. That means this is the probability of the state being in psi 1, the probability of state being in psi 2 plus the probability of being in the state psi 3. So substitute all these values. Psi 1 is 1 by 14 and psi 2 is 4 by 14 and psi 3 is 9 by 14. 14 by 14, that is equals to 1. So the total probability is 1. Next we discuss probable current density, which is very important. We will get many questions on this topic in exams like GATE, TFR and CSR exams. So what is probable current density? Here I will give brief introduction about this one. By analogy with charge conservation in the electrodynamics, the conservation of probability in quantum mechanics says that the dou rho by dou t plus del dot j is equals to 0. So this is a similar expression which appeared in your electrodynamics in the fluid mechanics. The continuity equation, I can call it as continuity equation. So dou rho by dou t, rho is here probability density and J is probability current density. So this is the formula. J bar is probability current density. So that is given by H bar divided by 2Im and psi star del psi minus psi into del psi. In competitive exam, many times they ask questions about the current density. Okay, we'll solve one or two problem in this session. We can also write J bar as a real term of psi star H bar by Im into del psi, and we can also write del dot J bar, the continuity equation, in this format. If dou rho by dou t is positive, we'll get del dot J bar is negative. That means there is a net inward flow of probability current into the medium, into the space. If dou rho by dou t is negative, that means del dot J is positive. That means there is a net outward flow of probability current density from the specified space. The flux is coming out of that region. If dou rho by dou t is equals 0, then I'll get del dot J is equals 0. Such states are called stationary states. So the wave functions having this property are known as stationary wave functions. So this is about probability current density. Please remember the formula. There are two formulas. One is in terms of psi star del psi minus psi del star psi del psi star, or otherwise real terms of psi star H bar by Im into del psi. There is one question which appeared in GATE exam in 2014, 2013 and 2019 with small modification. In 2014, he has given the wave function psi of x as u of x e power I kx. In 2013, he just wrote e power x by r. In 2019, he removed this x, u of x and r like that. There is small modifications of the wave function. That means sometime he has taken the plane wave function, that is e power ikx, sometime he used spherical wave function, and sometime the wave function without any amplitude. So let us try to find the answer here. A beam of monoenergetic particles having speed v is described by the wave function, this one, where u of x is real wave function. This corresponds to current density. So let us try to solve quickly. Psi of x is u of velocity and e power ikx. Then what is the complex conjugate psi of x? This is also u of x, is a real function. So psi star u is also u. This is e power minus ikx. You can use two formulas. For simplicity, I am writing this one, ih bar by 2m, ih bar by 2m del psi minus psi star del psi. This is the formula I am going to use. So what is del psi star here? That is u of x and dou by dou x. Del is what? Dou by dou x of e power minus ikx. So here I'll get minus ik term, and the remaining term is whatever you get, that is psi star only, right? E power minus ikx, e power minus is, u of x into e power minus ikx is nothing but a psi star. Similarly, del of psi here, that is u of x dou by dou f of e power ikx is e power ikx into ik, and this is simply I can write ik into psi. So substitute all these values here. ih bar by 2m, psi is u of x e power ikx and del psi star x. So that will be like minus ik psi star x. Psi star x is how much? U of x into e power minus ikx. So u of x into e power minus ikx minus psi star you have to write here, that is u of x e power minus ikx into del psi. Del psi is simply ik into psi. Ik into psi is u of x e power ikx. So implies ih bar is there, ih bar by 2m. So u of x, two times we have, you can take it common, you can take it outside. That means I'll write u square of x here, I of h bar, and this one and this one get cancelled. So minus ik is here, minus u of x into e of x is taken out, and u for ikx, this one get cancelled, minus ik into minus ik. So this is u square h bar by 2m minus 2ik into I. So I am taking this I inside. So what will you get? 2 get cancelled. U square h bar k by m. I into I is minus 1. Minus 1 into minus 1 is plus 1. So this is plus 1. Simply I get u square h bar k is my momentum, p by m. H bar k is p. So p by m. Therefore I'll write u square by momentum is how much? M into v by m. So mm get cancelled. Finally you will get u square into v. So this is the expression for the current density of a particle, which is described by a plane wave function e power ikx. So the corresponding current density is u square of x into v. So the option A is the correct one. And there is another question, students, which is a similar question. The particle of mass in one-dimensional box is given by the wave function, this one. The probability current density is given by the same technique. You have to write j bar is equals to ih bar by 2m into psi del psi star del. So calculate psi star del star, you will get the answer, this one. So I am not going to do this one. This is an exercise left for you. And this is the question which appeared in a PhD entrance exam, Hyderabad Central University in 2015. For the wave function psi is equals to a e power minus ax square minus it by h bar, the probability current density J bar is such that which of the following option is correct. You have to select. This is the given expression it by h bar. It won't take much time. Then write down psi star also, a e power minus ax square plus iet by h bar. Find del psi here. So there is a simple formula. J bar is equals to h bar by 2im psi star del psi, and this is the real term. You have to consider the real term here. So ignore imaginary term, you just consider the real term, then you will get the answer. No need to do the second term also. Or you can use the basic function. J bar is equals to uh, the well-known notation ih bar by 2m psi del psi minus psi star del psi. You substitute the values ih bar by 2m. When you calculate all these things here, you will get minus 2ax psi star you will get here, and minus of minus 2ax psi star you get here. So from this you can get cancel the both functions, you will get 0. Therefore J bar is nothing but the current density is equals to 0. So option 1 is the correct answer. Okay, I hope you understood the concept. Thank you very much for watching this video.